Hi, and welcome to this special evening of Origin of Concepts. In this video, I'll show you the origin of and the exact spot of the lost island of Atlantis. And I have been looking forward to this video because it took me over 10 years to solve this mystery. I started in April 23, 2024. I solved the mysterious, so to speak, and then I have used a couple of years to, double check if everything was correct. And then the other day I was finally ready with my script to this video, and it's a huge subject. Many have been looking for the lost city of Atlantis. So let's start. This will be a little longer video than normal, so hang on. The mysterious island of Atlantis, the origin of Plato's Timaeus and Critias, is a philosophical allegory warning against human lack or loss of spirit and wisdom. The greatest ancient and universal philosophical problem lies in the recurring, ignorant, and socially destructive mentality and extreme moral decay that led humans into ignorance, greed, dogmatic thinking, indoctrination, manipulation, corruption, materialism, and abuse of power. And abuse of power is, the worst thing we can do, because it's not benefit us all. And this power Plato is talking about here is so dangerous because it's able to manipulate even the most honest and good-hearted person to blindly fight against his own idols, without suspecting anything. So, you think you're fighting for something, and then someone behind the curtain, so to speak, let you fight against, your own will, and you have no idea what you're fighting for. You just go with the crowd, and where. All right. Plato attempted to solve this problem through his ideal state and the construction of the ideological Atlantis as an ancient ideal infrastructure for an optimal society. So it was his way to try to solve the problem. Okay, let's jump to the Atlantis here. Basically, Atlantis originally was a balanced society which became a morally bankrupt and corrupt imperialistic power, and therefore it was destroyed by the gods. Plato designed Atlantis as a mirror image of the bad aspects of Athens at the time, and specifically its greed and imperialistic expansion. So, he looked at the expansion of the imperialism and saw the bad things, and then he wanted to take it back to an earlier version of Athens. And this is he written down the story of Atlantis in the Timaeus and Critias, which is a dialogue where he is speaking with himself, so to speak, to criticize his own thoughts, to get to the most exactly outcome. In the Timaeus is a dialogue introducing the fall of Atlantis, but mostly deal with the philosopher's great problems with the lack of wisdom and imperialism. And then in the Critias is a dialogue containing the detailed, idealized description of Atlantis before it got corrupt. The idea is visualized on a fictional ancient version of Athens, based on the myth of the Greek goddess Athena. And as always, the universal law of the human mind demands sensory impressions or inspiration from existing concepts to develop new concepts. And as everybody else did before him, Plato also used the center of the Milky Way to convey his ideas. So let's take a look at the Milky Way here. And I'll find my color here. So, okay, let's go into the key features of Atlantis. Because Atlantis is the entire Milky Way center, the islands in the sky above. So what you see here is Atlantis. And the Atlantic Sea is this blue spot up here. This is always the sea in the myth. So far, so good. And to enter Atlantis, you have to you have to find the narrow strait between the pillars. And let me show you where we can find that. Because the narrow strait is the striped shadow. This is the narrow strait into Atlantis. And with all the stripes here is the pillars. So here we got the narrow strait with the pillars. Atlantis. Oh, and I have to delete them again because I have to draw now. It's a little bit complicated, but I think we'll manage. Atlantis consists of 2 rings of land and 3 rings of water, connected by bridges. And before I start drawing, let me sketch something up for you here. First of all, the bridges. If you see the striped shadow, it's like made in sections of 2. And basically there's also one here. Just so you know what I'm talking about in a minute. This is the bridges. And now I have to make the rings of Atlantis. Because Atlantis is, I'll make them in blue. This is the central islands of Atlantis. Of course, the golden disk, the spirit in the Milky Way center. And then we follow these points of the bridges to make the circles. And here is the inner circle of water. Here. And then here we got the next circle. I won't finish it because it's just in imagination. But that's how he got it. And then we got another here and here, and then we got another here and here. And let's count 1, 2, and there's 2 of land and 1, 2, 3 of water. Okay, let's try here. So let me outline the land with green. This is land. Then we got water and land here. Water and land here. So we got 2 lands and 1, 2. I need 1 water. I need the outline, so to speak, here with the last shadow. So here we got water. And here we got the water. And of course all this is water. And then we got some bridges, and the bridges is of course they are like here. This is one bridge, and here's another bridge, and here is the third bridge. Underneath the bridges was a narrow strait leading ships to the harbor. So now I'll make and it's the stripe shadow as a whole. That's the narrow strait as I showed you in the start. So here we got the narrow strait into Atlantis. So now the ships can move into Atlantis. And to reach the harbor, the harbor is also let me find another color here. The harbor is the Atlantic Sea up here. It both plays the role as the Atlantic, or the Sea of Atlas, and the harbor. The bridges is the paired stripes, we already know, in the stripe shadow. And the harbor is the bluish area above the disk. Yeah. The bridges divided the zones of land and water, leaving room for a single trireme. You know, it's a Roman boat with many oars. So like a canoe or boat with a lot of, rowing oars on both sides. And this boat, let me get up here, / you find here, it's the stripe shadow. This is the front of the boat, and then it makes like this. And then all the stripes here is the oars of the boat he's talking about. So here you got the trireme boat. Okay, I'll go back to the Atlantis. So, Poseidon created the island of Atlantis by enclosing a mound with a fence or gate to protect his earthly beloved Plato, the woman. And let me try to show you this, because this is the mountain. And he enclosed the mountain with this gate or fence here. And as you should know, if you have seen some of my other videos, his lovely girl is the female posture shadow here, standing with her crossed legs. So here we got the girlfriend or the lover of Poseidon. And Cleito, the woman, yes. And by the way, Cleito and Athena are both characters based on the silvery female posture shadow, here, the white shadow. And that means that Plato's ancient Athens, based on Athena, is also the Milky Way center, because the entire myth about Athena is built on the Milky Way center, or aspects on the Milky Way center. And that was like a hidden hint. Okay, let me see here. Then we have Cleito. She got 5 pairs of twins. Which one? What the oldest son was Atlas. And let me. We got the stripe shadow is the children, and when you make the bridges, you got 5 pair of twins, 10 children. And the oldest one, let me move this again. The oldest one was Atlas. And let me draw Atlas. Because he is the spot in here. The X. The oldest and sun. The first sun in the row of suns. And he is famous for holding up the sky, because the Atlantic Sea here is also the sky in other myths, specifically the myths about Atlas and Heracles in the Garden of the Hesperides, where he's holding up the heavens. So this is the heaven he is holding up. And yeah. And then Atlantis got 10 districts too. And this is, of course, the 10 stripes here. That's the 10 districts of Atlantis. And then we got like, let me go to, just give me a second here. No, I'll wait a second. In Atlantis, there is a temple, which is also the striped shadow. The striped shadow is used in basically every single myth to explain temples, city walls, cities, all kind of buildings and stuff like that. So the striped shadow here is the temple in the sky. And then Plato is mentioning some names of countries lying within the pillars. For example, like Libya, Egypt, Europe, and Turania. And they are not geographical lands as many things. They are ancient terms for districts visualized by the striped shadow, related to different aspects of human nature to overcome or comply. And this concept originated from the 9 bows in ancient Egypt. And this is the striped shadow here is the foreign lands, so to speak. You have to overcome, spiritual tasks. Well, maybe the 12 labors of Hercules. He have to go through all those tests to get spirit. And this is basically the same. And also remember that ancient Egypt was named Kemet, and Egypt was just the Greek term for the city of Kemet. The physical countries like Egypt, Libya, and Europe is names inspired by the Milky Way center. So those geographical countries today is named by the Milky Way center and not the other way around. So the Milky Way center was used to name those countries. Okay, I'll try to go. No, I think you remember the Atlantis. Otherwise, I'll put up a picture in a moment. The fall of Atlantis. This is the juicy stuff, Where did that island disappear, and can we find it? I think people all over the world have been digging, almost everywhere. And hey, look, it's here in the Libyan desert. No, it's here in the Atlantic. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, we found it on the bottom of the sea, and so on and so forth. But let's talk about the fall of Atlantis. And I quote Plato here. There occurred violent earthquakes and floods. Yes, of course they did. because the violent earthquakes is of course the striped shadow here. This is always earthquakes in basically every single myth. And this is also here you got the Atlantic Sea or the sea, and this is of course the big flood rushing over Atlantis. This is also used in the Noah's Ark as the big flood, but I'll make another video going deeper into that subject. And then Plato states, in a single day and night of misfortune, all your warlike men in a body sank into the earth, and the island of Atlantis, in like manner, disappeared in the depths of the sea. Okay, let's break that down. In a single day and night of misfortune, all your warlike men in a body, warlike men. The striped shadow here is all the warlike men in a body, so to speak, or in a body here. And the island of Atlantis disappeared in the depth of the sea. And when you look at the disk and the striped shadow, they actually looks like they are sinking into the depth of the sea here. It's swallowing the water here is swallowing the rest of the island, and it's wobbled down the water. So here is the sinking of the island of Atlantis. And then he goes on like, for which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there's a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island, and of course all the mud is the striped shadow here. That's all the mud, with the muddy colors of the disc here. So, and in some myths it's also the clay. So here we got the mud. And then Plato states, Atlantis, it's the ending of his text. This is truly a boundless continent, and I agree, of light and shadows in the cosmic clouds, because, this is no land here, it's just light and shadows. So it's truly a boundless continent, this Atlantis. And of course the golden light emanating from the disk as a metaphor of spirit and wisdom sinking into the sea, if you don't use your mind or obtain some wisdom. Also on behalf of everybody around you, of course. So this is the story about Atlantis. And from today, the mystery of Atlantis is no longer a mystery. The lost Atlantis has finally been found. It took 10 years. Oh my God. I'm so glad this is over now. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And just before I shut off this casting here, I'll show you this image. Here. Here I made the best I could. But this was what Plato made all this, built the story up about, the Milky Way center here. Perfect. Okay, that's all for now. Until next video, take care and thank you for watching. I always appreciate that very much. Take care and see ya. Bye.